Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rich Martini. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're having an amazing day. Today, as you can probably tell, compared to last week's episode, I sound much better. I have not recovered fully, but I am on my path to recovery, and yeah, it is not as painful to speak now, even though today I actually woke up with severe throat pain. So that is exciting. It's been a very long week, and I am just so done with this shit. First, let's cover the me being sick, and then I will complain because I just cannot do this anymore. So the sickness, guys, like it reached its peak. Well, not peak, but peak embarrassment moment, because yes, I was embarrassed about being sick during one of my lectures when I had such an intense coughing episode that I just wanted the earth to open and swallow me whole, because I would spend every 3 seconds coughing at least 4 times. Because not only was I sick, but then I decided to eat oats, which proved to be very irritating through my throat, because one of them was stuck in my throat, and it felt like by it being stuck, it just basically was like an animal's claw dragging my down or my already irritated throat. And I just could not stop coughing. And why is that always so embarrassing? And you know that in a moment like this, because like you're in a lecture, or whether you're in a lecture, whether you're in a meeting, whether you're like at a concert or any sort of event where coughing is not necessarily desirable at this moment, when you're in that space and all you can focus on is the fact that you're coughing and you're disturbing the flow of the event and the conversation, and you're focusing on trying to stop yourself from coughing as much, you're basically fighting for your dear life. Oh no, guys, I'm starting to have a coughing episode right now, and that's really not funny. And all you can focus on is trying to stop yourself from coughing, and you're trying to suppress the cough, but then you basically start choking and the cough starts coming out of your nose, but it also bothers your stomach and it becomes so painful. And it's like, just God, take me with you at this very moment. And I was so extremely embarrassed because, like I've told you before, if you have your phone or laptop open next to me, I am going to look. I'm sorry, I'm just going to do that. Like, keep that in mind if you're next to me. I am a curious, nosy gal to my bones. And sure, I know they say fuck around and find out, and that's what I did. So the guy that was sitting next to me, he had his WhatsApp open, and I assume he was texting with someone in the class because on his screen the Sheldon meme with the spray appeared. And if you don't know what that is, it is a meme of Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, who is a germaphobe, and he has his t-shirt covering his nose and his mouth, and then he's spraying a disinfectant. I don't remember what exactly the scene was, what was the reason for him disinfecting the air. Maybe someone was sick, I don't remember. But it's become a very popular meme that you use when you want to get rid of something in the air. And obviously that was, if, he was texting with someone in the class, that was an illusion to me. And I felt so incredibly embarrassed because obviously I wouldn't have gone to the lecture if I felt like it was endangering other people's lives. I went to the lecture because in the morning I felt better. But then I had this coughing attack basically, and that was extremely embarrassing, and I just wanted to like hide somewhere and not be seen ever again. And I thought about leaving the lecture, and it was just not good. So yeah, the meme, the whole situation, a great joke, a great hilarious joke, but I felt so guilty, and yeah, not fun. But honestly, again, the joke was hilarious, and I can take a joke. It was hilarious, but again, I felt very guilty. Doesn't matter. I wanted to complain to you about something which has been happening to me for a week, and I really thought about, should I really talk about this because I'm exposing those people? But then I thought about it and I was like, if you treat me like a complete piece of shit, you deserve to be exposed on my podcast. My podcast is my own platform. It centers around my own experiences in my own life. And if you decide to treat me like this and give me that much stress and be the reason for my headaches this entire week, apart from me literally head banging myself so hard during work in the edge of the oven that I saw stars and nearly fainted, and my manager had to rush to get me ice and something sweet to eat because I was really not doing well, and there was an entire very heavy bump on the top of my head. Yeah, you guys, when it rains it pours. When it rains it pours. It's been a rough few weeks. But yeah, and then I was like, that person doesn't care about my well-being, doesn't care about me whatsoever. So why should I protect them from putting them on the spot here and blasting them for all three of us listening to hear? So guys, I promise you, I'm trying not to talk about university in every single episode, but this thing takes up so much time of my life, of my days, and takes up so much mental space nowadays that I just feel like it's everything my life is centered around, and it's consuming me whole, and I just need to complain about it right now so that I can let it go and have a nice day, because today is my one and only day off and I need to study because, well, let me tell you why. So I am in a group project in which I didn't choose to participate. With those people I'm in a group with, I was assigned based on an algorithm. And that is the shittiest thing ever done. And I really hate this narrative that they're trying to push with, oh, at work you cannot choose who you work with, and you need to work despite your differences, and you need to pick people who you normally wouldn't pick so that you can take advantage of your diversities and whatnot. Sure, on theory, on paper, it all sounds amazing. In practice, however, I have been burned more than once, and there is a reason I stick to working with my friend when it comes to group projects, because I know that my friend is not going to fuck me over, and I know that my friend is someone who puts in work. Because, like I said, I have been burned more than once, and I know I have complained about group work over the past year a lot, because we all know that I have been the one doing the job. But guys, this is reaching a new level. So I was assigned, we're 3 people together, and the other 2 people are Dutch. And please, when I tell this story, I don't want you to think that I am projecting the things I'm about to say about those 2 people to the entirety of Dutch folk. I'm not trying in any way to be racist or xenophobic. I very much recognize that I am in their country and they're entitled to speak their language. That's okay. Now, what I mean is that when we are in a group together, they speak in Dutch. This is an English taught program. I am the sole international in that group, and we are supposed to be working together. And speaking everyday, like small talk Dutch around me is fine. I can understand, I can reply, but not when it comes to statistics. Because statistics, I was taught in English. And I don't know how to do statistics in English, let alone how to do statistics in Dutch. Now, I'm fine with them speaking in Dutch to each other when it comes to stuff that doesn't concern me. That's okay. But when it comes to stuff that concerns me and concerns the project in an English taught program, in an English taught project, in a project in which the report should be in English, then yeah, I think we should speak in English. And you know what I really don't like is that here, a lot of the times, people refer to me as, oh yeah, she's just English. No, I'm not English. I'm Bulgarian. English is not my first language either. English was a language I also had to learn and have to put effort into speaking. And sure, I may have become proficient at it, but when it comes to such stuff as statistics, I'm also not proficient in it because it is a domain I am not familiar with in any of the languages I speak. And you just, like, I get so infuriated when people refer to me as the English because there is a connotation behind it. There is a connotation of, oh, she's being entitled, oh, she's being a foreigner. And I get it. I will always and forever, even if I learn Dutch, even if I integrate, I will always and forever be a foreigner. And that is okay-ish. I mean, I'm not from here. I will always, if I'm here, I'll always be an immigrant. I get that. But this systematic xenophobia is getting a bit too much to deal with. And when people learn that English is not my first language, then they tend to be more forgiving. But should that be the case in academic institutions where the whole environment is English language centered? I really, really don't think so. And you know what they told me? Because like during the first... So together we have had 2 classes with my group members and I. During the first class, they spoke entirely in Dutch. During the first class is when we did the statistical tests. And they took over the entire statistical part, did it entirely in Dutch, and excluded me completely in the process. And you know what the thing they said to me in English was? They told me, sorry for excluding you and speaking in Dutch. Just excluding you kind of happens naturally. And I just stood there, flabbergasted, gobsmacked, bamboozled by the audacity to say that excluding me happens naturally. I know what they were trying to say, but this, I think, signifies a deeper underlying issue, which is quite prevalent, I would say. Because again, English is not my first language. What comes naturally to me is speaking Bulgarian. I can naturally exclude you from this conversation as well by speaking a language you don't even know exists. Because also, they didn't even bother to ask me where I'm from until after like 4 hours together. Which, fine, whatever. But what really bothered me is the way things proceeded after that class of exclusion. So I genuinely felt extremely dumb during this class. And I know this sounds cocky. I know I'm not dumb. And in projects, and I know this sounds cocky, I've never been the weak link. And I hate feeling like a weak link because I know I'm not a weak link. I know that, at least in my program, I'm a very well-rounded individual. And again, I know this sounds cocky, but I also am trying to not be as humble as I used to be simply by recognizing the effort and time and energy I put into studying and my consistency. And I think I am one of the more knowledgeable students, at least compared to the people I have encountered in that program. Because for some of those people, I genuinely don't understand how they got to the master's level or how they even got to the pre-master's level. That is just crazy to me because they don't have the required toolkit to be critical, have the ability to comprehend what is being taught to them. And I'm not out here trying to, present myself as holier than thou and as smarter and like better and whatever. I'm just like, when paired with such people, I compare my knowledge to them. And I see that there is a very interesting, let's say, discrepancy, which wouldn't have allowed me, like, for example, okay, let's speak language-wise. Again, you're in your own country, you're entitled to speak your own language. I am no one to tell you don't speak your language. I feel like I very clearly stated when I would expect you to speak in English. Again, noting that English is not my first language. What I find interesting, though, is that the university is more accepting of local people not speaking English than it is of internationals not speaking English. Because in preparation for my application for university, I had to go through extensive English learning. I had to get tested, I had to get my certification, and that was a very lengthy and a very expensive process. And throughout, like in my application for my pre-master, I still had to provide that certification, and I had to have, like, me getting my bachelor's in English was not deemed sufficient for me to prove my English language skills. And then I look at the way locals are treated and the fact that, for example, people like this, the one that I'm experiencing in my group work, don't have to get tested on their English skills. And then they come around and don't speak any English, and I'm paired up with them, and there is inability to work together simply because of a language barrier. I really don't think that's fair. I don't think we're getting the same treatment because they're more forgiving when it comes to people like this because they're locals, whereas I, whose first language, just like that person, is not English, but my passport is not Dutch, I need to extensively go improve my English skills. And I'll never forget when one of my friends who had English certification, who did his entire bachelor in English, was forced to go and get another certification in English for his master's application because they just simply refused to acknowledge the fact that he already had a certification and his entire higher education was performed in English. They refused to accept that. And he had to go and get tested again and go through this lengthy and expensive process all over again. And I just think that this misalignment when it comes to treating your students is rather telling. And what is it telling of? I feel like I can let you make your own conclusions. And the last thing I'll say about the language is that yesterday, during the meeting we had, that person talked in Dutch entirely. And I said, I cannot participate in this meeting if you speak in Dutch because I don't speak the language to a level that would allow me to communicate with you on academic subjects and topics in Dutch. And they just giggled and continued speaking in Dutch, saying in Dutch, I just don't know how to say it in English. Which, again, totally fine. I'm not blaming you for not speaking the language. I am blaming the university which allowed you to be leveled with me who speaks objectively better English than you. Now remember this, because this is something that really fueled my infuriation, my fury when I received such an entitled statement later from that person. So basically, we had agreements with those people about the way we're going to proceed with the group work, and we even had to write a whole team charter. And everybody agreed to that, everybody signed that. And one of the things, and I didn't say this, they said it, they insisted that we write it, and they insisted that we agreed to it. They were like, I don't want to work on the weekends. I only want to work during the weekdays. And I want to be done with everything we have to do at least a day and a half before the deadline. The deadline is tomorrow. The project is nowhere near being done. It is Sunday morning. Yes, guys, I'm recording this right before I upload it because throughout the week I couldn't speak because I didn't have a voice. Today is the best my voice has sounded in a while. And also because of the thing I'm about to tell you right now. So, throughout the week, they didn't put in any effort into the project. I have been single-handedly handling this whole thing. Okay, one of the girls, I admit, she did the SPSS stuff, which, if you're not familiar with what SPSS is, it is a software which is used for statistical equations and statistical tests. And we were provided the data. We didn't have to collect the data ourselves. The data was already taken care of when it comes to formatting, to preparing for statistical analyses. And what we had to do is perform the statistical analyses, which literally entails clicking 3 buttons on your computer. And that's it. Work for the amount of data we have, work that would take you no longer than 30 minutes in total. And then it's all about interpreting this, because statistics as tables and numbers means nothing. Statistic has to be analyzed in order to obtain any value. So I communicated very clearly before the start of the project, and I told those people, hey, I just want you to know that statistics is not really my strong suit. We all know, guys, like I know I've complained about statistics many a times. Yeah, my struggles persist. And I told him, my comprehension of statistics is sufficient, but it's not exhaustive and extensive. So in their interpretations, I will probably need your help with certain stuff. And they were like, yeah, that's absolutely okay. We're a team. We're going to work on this together. Just if you have any struggles, tell us. And we agreed that we're all going to work on Thursday because Thursday was our day off of university. And on Thursday, I wake up with the mentality, okay, let's get most of this done, because they didn't want to work during the weekend, which is completely a valid request. And then on Thursday, I work on all of this for 4 hours without taking a single break, without even going to the bathroom, without even drinking water. I have fully locked in writing interpretations. And after writing 20 pages of interpretations, and mind you, throughout the process of me writing the things, I communicated with them. I am working on this part. This part is finished. Please check this. Hey guys, I'm struggling with this part. Could you please help me? And could you please help me analyze this? Nothing. Dead silence. Despite the fact that we agreed that we're going to work on this on Thursday together. And I was like, okay, maybe something happened. Let me proceed. I wrote the entire thing. Later in the evening. I also wrote some more. So in total, I worked like over 5 hours that day on that project. And then, so throughout this thing, like I mentioned, I communicate with them every single step I take. And I was left for 13 hours undelivered. And then those people have the audacity to come and tell me, oh, communication is very key. And you just, oh my God, yesterday I was so infuriated. I just genuinely, if they were in front of me, I would have smacked the living shit out of them. Because so on Thursday, I do my thing and I tell them, please check all of this. For this, because you didn't reply on time, I wrote the interpretations, and depending on the 3 possible outcomes on the interpretations, I wrote 3 interpretations. In case you guys tell me this is correct, this is wrong, I wrote the 3 different scenarios that are plausible from this table. So please check all of this. And I asked them about, I know this is getting very boring and very detailed and unnecessary, but guys, I really need to get this off my chest right now because it's going to plague me throughout my entire day otherwise, because today is my one and only day off and I need to spend the entire day working on this shit, because the people who explicitly said that they don't want to work on it on the weekend didn't put in any effort during the week. And now, whose jobs is it to fix it? Yeah, yours truly. So, yesterday, when I'm like, hey guys, can we please, do you have any updates? How is it going? Did you check? Did you read? And I get bombarded with these personal attacks. And I mean personal attacks. And I really don't know why it had to get personal about the fact that I apparently said that everything they did statistic tests wise is wrong, which I never said that. You're putting words in my mouth. I asked you about a specific statistic test because it legitimately was not performed correctly. 1 test out of 10. And you're putting words in my mouth. Then you're saying that all the work I did on a day, you told me explicitly that you cannot work when you were the one who insisted that we work on Thursday. And then I was just extremely infuriated when they told me, let's meet together today, Saturday evening, and I told them I'm working until 8. Guys, I need to blow my nose because otherwise I'll choke. And then they're like, oh yeah, let's meet up on Saturday evening, after I explicitly told them I'm working until 8 o'clock in the evening, and they want to meet up after that. And I'm like, bro, I cannot meet up on Saturday evening on such short notice and dedicate my Saturday evening to this. And they're like, obviously I didn't say this. I said I cannot meet up. And they're like, well, that's not fair. And I'm like, what is not fair? And one of the girls, the only girl who's done anything apart from me, the one who did the statistical test, was, well, I did the SPSS things, and I don't think it's fair that you cannot meet up and discuss the interpretations. I wrote all the interpretations. I did all the work. I don't understand what the unfairness is, but I am going to squeeze you in 15 minutes. Leave me whatever comments you have, and then we can talk about this. And I rush home, and I'm, mind you, infuriated. And I go over the comments, and I start the Google Meet, and the girl who did the SPSS stuff, she joins, but the other person doesn't join for the first 10 minutes. And like I mentioned, I had 15 minutes. I didn't want to dedicate more time to that meeting because I actually wanted to work on the project instead of talk about the project. Because most of the stuff I had done, everything that was done, I did. And that person who joined late, they join and they start talking in Dutch. And I, again, say, I cannot understand you. I cannot contribute to this conversation. And they just start giggling, and that's just funny to them. Whatever. But what infuriated me, and what really, I've never been so taken aback in a negative way, is the fact that when we were dividing who should write a conclusion on which part, I said, okay, person, you can do the conclusion for block 2, and I will do the conclusion for block 1 of the text. And that person goes to say, why would that make sense? I wrote block 1. And I just sit there, gobsmacked, flabbergasted, bamboozled, because guys, I wrote the entire thing. I wrote everything. I admit it. That person wrote a single paragraph, which I had to fundamentally change. And that person is trying to plagiarize my work, is plagiarizing my work, taking credit for my effort simply because that person worked on block 1. And by the way, I'm doing quotation marks right now, air quotation marks, because you cannot see it, so that's why I'm saying it. And by working on that part, I mean they changed 2 words in everything I've written, which had to be reworked because their changes were not good. And the way it was written before was the correct way. And I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. And I'm so pissed at myself that I said nothing, because like this, I let this person win. And I let them audaciously take credit for my work, my effort, my time, my knowledge. And I stood there, I didn't say anything, and I just let it be. And I'm so mad at myself, and I just really cannot understand the audacity of some people, because I communicated throughout the entire process what I'm working on, aka everything, and you come out here and say that you've written this. You didn't write this. And the next thing I'm going to say is going to be very mean, and I'm not even going to apologize. So don't even bother to pardon my French. It's going to sound cocky. Bestie, you only wish you could write sentences like my sentences. You cannot write that type of sentences, because I have been notorious for writing complex, long sentences, and the way I express myself academically is again notoriously complex. And I mean notoriously because all my teachers are telling me, write more simple, like separate the points. Your sentences carry meaning, but they're very heavy sentences. And the sentences that person claimed as theirs were heavy, complex sentences, which, again, I'm going to sound very, very mean. I'm pretty sure they didn't know the vocabulary of those sentences. And I feel like I'm allowing myself to be mean simply because that person plagiarized my work. If they hadn't done this, I would have never be mean, because I'm trying my best to be as compassionate in life as possible, as empathetic, as understanding as possible. But this is a new level of audacity. And I just stood there in the meeting and I watched like I was a cow in a slaughterhouse. That's a saying in Bulgarian. Telev železnica, for my Bulgarians listening. And I know that maybe for you this is not really a lot, but in academia, plagiarism is the biggest crime you can commit. And I never have imagined that my work would be plagiarized. And sure, in a way it has been when I've done all the work and someone just puts their name on it. Sure, but I have been aware of this. But this, I was completely blindsided by. And it was, I think, embarrassing for them to claim this, considering that they talked in Dutch during the meeting, because they said, I cannot communicate this in English because I don't know what the words are. the words referring to the project words used in the text. And then it also felt embarrassing for me, even though I shouldn't feel embarrassed about it. But I felt embarrassed because I was out here like beating my chest saying, I wrote all of this. I wrote all the interpretation. I did all the job, all the work. And someone then goes and says, actually, I did this. And it was their word against mine. And then I remembered, we're using Google Docs. And you can see who wrote what. And obviously, you can see that my name is present and consistent throughout the entire thing. I noticed that some stuff, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, some stuff that person had copied from the text I had written, copied, then deleted, then inserted again. So after the insertion, their name appears as an editor. I don't know if it was intentional again, but like I didn't know what to say, and that's my work, and I genuinely felt so disheartened. And after that, I had a terrible headache because my mind just simply cannot comprehend behavior like this. And then I thought about it more, and I'm like, you know what? I should be grateful that my mind cannot comprehend behavior like this. Because this implies that the way I was raised compared to the way that person was raised is fundamentally different. And we have fundamentally different values, fundamentally different perceptions and approaches to life, to respect, to other people and their time, resources, effort, work, and whatnot. And I am thankful that I cannot comprehend or replicate such behavior, because I genuinely hate people like these, and I am thankful I don't align with them value and approach wise, because if I did, then that would imply I would hate myself and that I would lack integrity. And if there's one thing I don't lack, it's integrity. I may be lacking on many aspects in life, that's okay. And I know that probably now it sounds like I'm speaking very highly of myself throughout this entire episode, but I know the effort I put into stuff. I know that I never half-ass things, and if I do something, I do it more than sufficiently well, because I would just simply not be able to look myself in the mirror if I half-ass stuff. I didn't come from the other end of the continent. I am not trying to integrate in a culture which is completely different than mine. I have not been battling with xenophobia and discrimination for 4 years. I have not been going through this entire thing just for someone to take credit for my work. That is, and now, before the meeting, I was very motivated on Monday to go and talk to the teacher and speak up about this, because this is systematic, this is consistent, and I just really think that speaking up is necessary. And speaking up, unfortunately, in the rare instances that I have spoken up, has not proved useful, because my lecturer, for example, he himself was speaking in Dutch in an English taught program, and that just, I think, itself sets the tone to my classmates that such behavior is okay, despite your contract for that class literally saying that the language of institution is English. And I thought about speaking to the teacher, and I was very, motivated, and I talked to multiple people and they were like, yeah, you should really not let this go, and you should really go and talk to the teacher, because this is really not okay, and this is not something you should have to experience. And after the meeting, instead of my motivation to go and talk to the teacher to be reinforced after literally my work being plagiarized, I just started doubting whether I should go and talk to the teacher. Because again, I was like, it's my word against that person's word. And how do I they're just going to say, oh, it's the entitled international who is just trying to avoid integration, who is just trying to go the easy way by working with internationals, who's trying to go the easy way by working with their friend. And it's really not the entitled international scenario in which I'm just trying to create a distance between me and, in this case, this Dutch person. I'm just trying to get my work done in a way that is not stressing me out, in a way that's not causing me headaches, and in a way in which I get credit for what I've done. And I really don't know if I should speak up, because why am I starting to tear up? I'm just genuinely scared of speaking up about this, because up until now it's never been fruitful. And what's really pissing me off is that the teachers, the instructors, the lecturers, they're trying not to engage in such conflicts of interest, because they're like, you're grown-ups and you should handle this all by yourself. And I get it. I support that this is something that grown-ups should be able to handle by themselves. But if me communicating is not enough, me trying to solve the issue is not enough, and then I get met with plagiarism, I honestly don't know how to handle this. And I'm sorry, and I know this sounds entitled, but I really don't think I should carry some people, anyone actually, through their degree. Because I've earned many people their degrees, and I don't know if I regret doing it. I did it because I was also at jeopardy. And that's the thing. In a team effort, there's always a slacker. And I've never been a slacker. I've never been a half-asser. And I've never been lazy. But I've always been paired up with people who are. And how lucky are those people to be paired up with someone who doesn't condone that type of thing? And instead of, talking to them and instead of me, for example, being okay with me failing a course, I just pass their course for them. And that is not okay. I'm not doing them a favor, and I'm also not doing myself a favor, because that person and I have the same education on paper, have the same degree, and for group projects, we have the same grades. Grades earned by me. And later, when we enter the job field, and let's say we enter this local job field, job environment, and we apply for the same job, they're going to get priority simply because of their passport. While I was the one who did all the job. But how can I prove it that I did all the work? And it's so infuriating. And I just really am done doing other people's work for them. Making all the effort, putting in all the work, and letting other people just sign their name. And seeing the way this person approached this situation was the last drop. My last straw. I cannot do this anymore. And what's infuriating is the fact that I am paying for this. And I'm not paying little money for this. And I shouldn't have to pay thousands of euros each year to do someone else's job and earn my degree and earn that other person's degree. Because later, when we're applying for the job, how do I go and explain that I am the person with the knowledge? I am the person with the experience, and the other person is just the person who wrote their name under my work. And I really don't know how to handle this, because this has been systematically allowed in my university. I don't know how it's been in other universities, because I've been only in this one, and yeah, obviously the one I did my minor in, but like there were group projects, so I don't know how it was. And like obviously group work is beneficial. Group work is effective, and it is necessary, especially in a field like the one I have chosen. There's like a person cannot handle the marketing of an entire company, of an entire brand by themselves. It's a team effort. It's a joint effort. But I would like to believe that when it comes to you being at a job, you would be doing your job. Because I feel like at work, there would be repercussions if you don't do your job. You will get fired. You will get sanctioned. And here, they don't get that. And it's infuriating. And that is what I think is unfair. And that is something I really don't know how to navigate and don't know how to fight against. Because, again, when I have had the courage to speak up, I've just been met with, "You're adults, handle this by yourselves." And it shouldn't be my responsibility to do someone else's work. And it shouldn't be on me to fail because someone fails to do their job. And what I really don't get is, why are you at a master's level? Why are you in university? Sure, I get it. Some people are pushed by their parents to get higher education. They're pushed to do a bachelor. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never heard of someone being forced into doing a master's. And at a master's level, because, this is now real shit. Like, this is, because like bachelor, obviously it's difficult, obviously it's higher education, but a bachelor, there's more forgiveness there. And a master's degree, because it's so intense, because it's short, and it's so information packed, it should be people who are determined. It should be people who are willing to put in the work. It should be people who want to put in the work. People who are motivated, want to learn, and are there for a reason. Are not there simply for a piece of paper. It should be people who want to be there and who deserve to be there. And I'm sorry, but some of my classmates and I are not on the same level. And again, I know this sounds very cocky, and I know it sounds like I'm thinking very highly of myself. And you can think this. That's okay. You can judge me. That's okay. I know I have the tools to back up my statements. And sure, I may not be amazing at statistics, but I put in the work. And I put in the effort, and I continuously learn and improve. And those people, they don't learn, they don't improve, but they have the degree. And they're still my direct competition when it comes to job seeking. And that is what infuriates me. And that is because I'm someone who has a very deeply ingrained sense of justice. And I don't think that's just. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's honest. And I don't think that should happen. But I really don't know what to do. And I do think I should speak up. But I don't know if I'll be taken seriously, because up until now, I've never been taken seriously. And I don't want to go and talk to someone about a systematic issue and for them to tell me, you're an adult, handle it. This, you're an adult, handle it, is how systematic issues become systematic and how we cannot uproot the rotten aspects of our field. And I know that I single-handedly cannot change university practices. I know, unfortunately, there are many group works coming my way. And I just want you to know that the day I submit my final group project is going to be a very happy day. And I don't think, nostalgia really changes your perspective and the way you look at stuff, and it changes your lens when you reflect on the past. I don't think nostalgia is powerful enough that when hopefully in the future, I survive all of this and I don't have to do group projects anymore on university level, I don't think nostalgia is powerful enough to change my perspective and have me reminisce on group work. That's why I'm here reflecting on this now, so that later in life, when I'm like, oh, do you remember my university years and how everything was perfect and how everything was nice? No, it wasn't. And it's never been since I came here. And a lot of the things are self-imposed. A lot of the pain is self-inflicted. But a lot of the issues are fundamentally system-related, institution-bound, and condoned, and have been condoned. And I honestly don't think it's in my power to change any of those systematic issues. But even if simply by speaking up, I have some people, think about them. Or let's say someone who is a teacher listens to this. A teacher, it doesn't matter what. Maybe when they start assigning group projects, they now can hear a more extensive reflection on group work dynamics that otherwise they will not have access to. And maybe they can think about the way they structure that group work in order to avoid plagiarism, in order to avoid stress, in order to avoid one person carrying the whole thing, because my back has been hurting the entire week. And I don't think it's my scoliosis. I think it's hurting from carrying those people. And it's just, I don't feel like I have the platform at a university to speak up about this. But just because I don't have it doesn't mean I won't speak up. Because I should speak up. Because the thing, after that meeting, I shouldn't have been questioning whether I should speak up or not. That meeting should have been the final and the piece of the puzzle, the solidifying factor, which is like, you have to speak up, you must. And I don't know why I feel the need to protect that type of people, when that type of people would throw me under the bus any chance they get. That type of people plagiarize my work. And yeah, again, that is just a signal that those people and I are fundamentally different. And how lucky and how thankful I am to be fundamentally different from everything that person entails. Or maybe not everything, but academically what this person entails. I don't know. I really don't know. I feel very disappointed. I'm very distraught. And I regret not speaking up in the moment and being like, calling that person out on what they did. Because I just felt like I didn't have the chance to, that I couldn't. And no matter if I can or not, I should. Because this is how, if I don't speak up, then I condone it. That means that I'm okay with it, and I'm okay with it happening. And sure, a future change may not affect me and this group project and this team that I'm in, but it may help others. And if it helps another person not be plagiarized for their efforts, then I think I've done more than enough. I don't know. I really don't mean to play holier than thou, and I don't want to imply that I'm the smartest person in university and blah, 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 blah. I may not be smart. I may not be intelligent on certain aspects. But I am hardworking. And no one can take that away from me. And no one should take credit for that but me. I really don't know, guys. I just don't know. I don't know how to handle this. If anything changes, I will let you know. I really didn't want to start my day off like this and talk about this and reflect about this, but it's been plaguing me. And I woke up with a headache. I went to bed with a headache. It's so unfair. And I know that life is not fair, buttercup, so suck it up. But there are things that are unfair and will perhaps persist to be unfair, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't fight against them. So I really don't know. I really wanted to talk about something more lighthearted to start my day off better, but this is what I really needed to get off my chest. And if that person is listening, I don't think they're listening because I was going to say something mean, but I'm not going to. If let's say this reaches this person somehow, yes, maybe you now are saying that I'm coward for not speaking up yesterday and now talking about it on the internet. But you know what? I really don't give a shit. I really don't give a shit. This is not personal. It is kind of personal. But this is me just trying to tell a story so that we note a systematic issue and try to solve it. Because you wouldn't appreciate if you were on the receiving end of that issue. And yeah, I don't know. I really feel like a bitch about talking about this now and putting that person on blast. But it's not my responsibility and duty to tolerate intolerable shit. And that's on period. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening to this episode. I honestly don't know if I should post this episode because I feel like I'm going to feel guilty. But I should stop with this guilt, self-imposed guilt. I should stop protecting people from themselves. I really should. So, yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I don't know if you enjoyed it, but I hope you did. And I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't support genocide. Bye.